There comes a time in your life when you have to stop explaining, stop defending, and stop performing just to be seen. You've spent too many years trying to make people understand your heart, your journey, your worth, and still they don't get it. That's because they were never meant to. Hear me today, you don't need a crowd to carry a calling. You've been waiting for someone to clap for you. You've been waiting on someone to say, I see you, I believe in you. But the truth is, the belief that you're searching for in them, God already placed in you. There's a power that comes when you just believe. Not halfway, not kinda sorta, but fully, confidently, completely. You believe in the gift God gave you. You believe in the strength that kept you alive. You believe in the quiet whisper of heaven that says, you're chosen. And when you carry that kind of belief, you don't need to prove yourself to anyone. You can just be still and walk boldly. Let me tell you something, silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. Silence is surrender. Silence is saying, God, I trust you enough to stop swinging. I trust you enough to stop explaining. I trust you enough to let you fight for me. You see, there are people watching your life right now, waiting for you to react, to break, to quit. But when you believe in yourself and stay silent, you frustrate every demon that came to distract you. You silence the noise with your stillness. You answer the chaos with your calm. You shut down the enemy by saying nothing and doing everything. In private, you don't have to fight for your place. You don't have to clap back. You don't have to tell your side of the story, because when God's hand is on you, your fruit will testify. Your life will announce what your words could never say. Belief is not just an emotion, it's a decision. It's waking up every morning and saying, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. It's walking into rooms that never expected you to shine and shining anyway. It's holding your peace when everything in you wants to scream. It's trusting that you don't need noise to make impact. Some of the most powerful seasons in your life will be your quiet seasons. That's where God develops you. That's where He matures you. That's where He elevates you away from the distractions, the opinions, the lies. Because before He shows you off, He wants to make sure you're rooted enough to stand in your assignment. Don't you know that diamonds are formed in the dark? Don't you know that oil is crushed out of olives in silence? Don't you know that the baby grows in the womb, unseen but unstoppable? So why are you worried about being visible, being heard, being understood? Your invisible season is the womb of your next breakthrough. And when it's time, you won't have to say a word. Your presence will speak. Your results will speak. Your peace will speak. What you survived will walk in the room before you do. So if you're in a season right now where people don't get you, stay silent. If they doubt your dreams, stay silent. If they lied on you, walked away from you, counted you out, just believe. Believe when they laugh. Believe when they leave. Believe when you cry yourself to sleep. Because when you believe in yourself, you align with the belief God has in you. And that's more powerful than anything anyone could ever say. The battle is not yours. The approval is not needed. The voice you need to listen to is not out there. It's in here. God said you're enough. God said you're chosen. God said you're going somewhere. So stand still, be quiet, and believe. You don't owe the world a performance. You owe yourself peace. You don't owe people explanations. You owe God your obedience. And if believing in yourself means walking alone, walk. If staying silent means trusting God over man, be still. Because something greater is on the way. Just believe in yourself. You've been trying so hard to get people to see your worth. You've been stretching, performing, exhausting yourself just to get a little validation. Just to get someone to look at you and say, you're good enough. But here's what you need to hear today. When you truly believe in yourself, you no longer need anyone else to clap for you. You don't need the crowd. You don't need the likes, the shares, the comments. You don't need the congratulations, the applause, or the acknowledgement. Because when you've got that inner confidence, you carry a fire that doesn't need permission to burn. There is a kind of confidence that doesn't yell. It doesn't need to broadcast itself. It walks into a room and changes the atmosphere without saying a word. It doesn't come from followers, from titles, from applause. It comes from knowing who you are when no one is watching. It comes from understanding that you were formed with purpose, created in power, and designed by the hand of God Himself. And once you believe that deep down in your soul, you stop chasing the approval of people who never even had the power to define you in the first place. You've got to stop trying to prove your value to people who are too small-minded to recognize what you carry. Some of you have been shrinking yourself just to fit into their boxes. You've been second-guessing yourself because someone else couldn't see your vision. You've been waiting on someone to co-sign your calling when the creator of the universe already signed off on it before you were born. That's why you feel tired. That's why you feel frustrated. Because you're out here trying to get confirmation from people who were never meant to understand your assignment. Let me tell you something. Inner confidence is not loud. It's not boastful. It doesn't need attention. It's not waiting to be chosen because it knows it's already anointed. Inner confidence is that still voice that tells you, I don't need to respond to that. I don't need to prove that. I don't need to beg for what's already mine. That's what believing in yourself sounds like. That's what real peace feels like. And the moment you start walking in that kind of mindset, you'll start noticing something powerful. The less you chase them, the more you attract what's truly for you. Some of you are wondering why your energy is low, why you feel drained. It's because you've been handing your self-worth to people like a survey. You've been asking everyone to vote on your identity, to vote on your value, and every time they say no, you shrink a little more. But let me wake you up to something right now. You don't need their yes to move forward. Their opinion does not qualify or disqualify you. Your confidence should not rise and fall with someone else's approval. If they didn't make you, they don't get to label you. Period. When you believe in yourself, something radical shifts. You no longer walk into rooms hoping to be accepted. You walk in knowing that your presence has power. You no longer get shaken by gossip, by critics, by doubters, because you've already settled the matter inside your spirit. You've already looked in the mirror and said, I may not be perfect, but I am powerful. I may not have it all figured out, but I am chosen. I may have been overlooked before, but I will not overlook myself. And that belief, that quiet, unshakable belief, That's what sets you apart. That's what allows you to stand when others fall. That's what gives you the patience to wait while others panic. That's what allows you to stay silent when others argue, when others defend, when others retaliate. Because you know that you don't need to shout when the truth is already living in your actions. You don't need to react. You don't need to explain. You don't need to make them understand. You just need to believe in yourself enough to keep walking, keep building, keep healing, keep growing. Even if they never clap, even if they never say thank you, even if they never admit they were wrong, their applause is not your foundation. Your faith is. Listen closely. People will forget your words, your posts, your explanations, but they will never forget your results. They will never forget the version of you that rises without announcing it, that wins without begging, that stays quiet but keeps moving. And when that happens, when your life begins to bloom in silence, they'll wonder how you did it. They'll ask what changed. But the truth is, you didn't change who you are. You just finally started believing it. You stopped chasing approval and started walking in alignment. You stopped looking outward and started tuning inward. You started realizing that peace is louder than praise and confidence is deeper than attention. And now, you stepped into a kind of power that doesn't require permission. So don't be discouraged when people don't see it yet. They're not supposed to. That belief is yours. That vision is yours. That inner confidence is between you and the one who gave it to you. Just believe in yourself, quietly, fiercely, completely. And let your life whisper what your words no longer need to say. Silence is not weakness. It's not fear. It's not defeat. Silence is wisdom wrapped in discipline. It is the language of those who know they are being led by something greater than emotion. Some of the most powerful battles are won in silence. Some of the deepest breakthroughs come in moments when no one is speaking, just trusting. And if you don't understand the value of silence, you will always feel the need to react, to explain, to clap back, to defend your truth. But there comes a point in your life when you realize not everything deserves your voice. Not everything is worth your response. Some things require you to stay quiet, not because you're losing, but because you've already won the moment you refused to step down to their level. We live in a loud world, a world that constantly tells you to speak up, fight back, make yourself known, prove your power. We do not win the war. We are part of the win. Live the life you were meant to live. And we are so much better than the fear. But here's the truth nobody teaches you. Real power doesn't need to shout. Real power doesn't need to make announcements. It doesn't need to throw shade or demand to be understood. Real power is when you can see everything, know everything, feel everything, and still remain unmoved. That's the mark of someone who's no longer controlled by chaos. That's someone who's decided to let God handle what people try to make personal. Staying silent is not about walking away from battles. It's about knowing which battles are worth your energy. And let's be honest, some things are just distractions sent to drag you out of character. They want your reaction. They want to pull you into the noise. But when you stay silent, you strip their power. You frustrate their expectations. You say, "You will not control how I show up. You will not dictate my emotions. You will not pull me away from my peace." You've got to understand that silence isn't passive. It's active resistance. It's spiritual warfare. It's the sound of trust. When you remain silent, you're saying, "God, I trust you to fight what I can't see. I trust you to speak for me when I don't have the words. I trust you to move while I remain still." And trust me, God does his best work when we're quiet. When we're not micromanaging, not defending ourselves, not chasing justice in our own strength. That's when he steps in. That's when he says, "Now that you've moved out of the way, let me handle it." Some of you have been wasting your anointing trying to prove something to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You've been talking too much, explaining too much, and all it's done is drain your spirit. There is freedom in silence. There is protection in silence. When you stop responding to every attack, you stop giving the enemy access to your peace. Every time you stay silent when you could have exploded, you are testifying that you've grown. You're saying, "This is beneath the version of me I've worked so hard to become." There's a difference between being silent out of fear and being silent out of strength. Fear-based silence is suppression. Strength-based silence is strategy. It's saying, "I know my worth, and I know the battle is already won." There is something so divine about being able to hold your peace while everything around you is trying to steal it. That's not weakness. That's spiritual maturity. That's discipline. That's self-control. That's trusting that your silence doesn't mean you're ignoring the storm. It means you're trusting the one who commands the wind and the waves. You can't afford to waste your voice anymore. Your voice is a weapon. Your voice is anointed. But it is not meant for every argument. It is not meant for every room. Sometimes God will keep you silent, not to punish you, but to preserve you. Because had you said what you felt, you would have delayed your own breakthrough. Had you responded in anger, you would have ruined your own testimony. But when you stayed silent, heaven clapped for you. When you stayed silent, the enemy lost his grip. When you stayed silent, you chose growth over gratification. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them write their version of the story. Your silence will be louder than their noise, because at the end of the day, results speak. Peace speaks. Fruit speaks. You don't have to defend what God is building. You just have to protect your focus, guard your heart, and keep walking. Because while they're watching you, doubting you, criticizing you, you're right. You're healing, you're becoming. Staying silent is not about hiding, it's about positioning. God hides what he's growing. He keeps things quiet while they mature. He covers what's sacred until it's ready. So if you feel like you're in a season where you've got to be quiet, trust that it's not punishment, it's preparation. The silence is making you stronger. The silence is teaching you how to hear. The silence is cleansing you from needing people's approval. And when you come out, you won't need to prove anything. Your fruit will speak. Your favor will speak. Your survival will speak. Sometimes, silence is the loudest sermon you'll ever preach. It says, "I'm not what they said. I'm not what they expected. I'm not broken. I'm built. I'm not bitter, I'm better. And I don't need to explain it. I'll let my life show it." That's what strength sounds like. That's what healing sounds like. That's what purpose sounds like when it doesn't need a microphone. So don't be afraid to stay silent. Don't let pressure force you into conversations you've outgrown. Don't let fear push you into battles that don't belong to you. Your silence is not empty. It's full of power, full of trust, full of fire. And in time, everything God promised will speak for itself. Stay silent, stay grounded, and stay ready. Faith doesn't always show up with fireworks. It doesn't always look like shouting in the storm or dancing in the fire. Sometimes faith is quiet. Sometimes it sits still. Sometimes faith is simply choosing to trust in the middle of the unknown without having all the answers. It's closing your mouth when everything in you wants to scream. It's believing when your heart is breaking, when doors are slamming, when people are walking away. That's when real faith kicks in, not in the easy moments, but in the ones where silence feels like suffocation and doubt comes knocking louder than ever. Yet still, you choose to believe. Faith works best in the quiet places because that's where there are no distractions, no noise, no applause, just you and God. And sometimes that's exactly what He wants. He wants to get you alone, away from the crowd, away from the voices, away from the chaos, so He can speak to you clearly. Because if you're always surrounded by noise, you'll confuse the noise for direction. You'll mistake opinions for truth. And before you know it, you're living by reactions instead of revelation. There's something sacred about the quiet spaces. That's where you find your strength again. That's where God rebuilds what the world tried to break. That's where He mends the parts of you that no one sees. You see, some of your greatest growth isn't going to happen in public. It won't happen on platforms. It won't happen in front of people clapping for you. It will happen when it's just you, broken, uncertain, tired, but still holding on, still trusting, still saying, Lord, I don't understand, but I believe you know what you're doing. That kind of faith doesn't make headlines. It doesn't get attention, but it gets results. Because when you learn how to believe in the dark, you're no longer controlled by what's happening around you. You're no longer shaken by circumstances. You've been in the silence. You've walked through the valley. You've been tested, crushed, rejected, and yet here you are, still believing, still becoming, still standing. Let me tell you something. If your faith can survive silence, it can survive anything. It's easy to trust God when everything's loud, when the worship music is playing, when the encouragement is constant, when the miracles are obvious. But what about when it's quiet? What about when the answers don't come? What about when the prayers seem to bounce off the ceiling and come back empty? That's where faith proves itself. That's where you find out what you really believe. Not in the noise, but in the stillness. Not when everyone is cheering you on, but when you feel like you're the only one still holding on. Faith in quiet spaces is where giants are formed. It's where callings are clarified. It's where battles are won in secret before victories are seen in public. Don't despise the silence. It's shaping you. It's strengthening you. God isn't ignoring you. He's investing in you. He's digging deep. He's building a foundation that won't crack under pressure. You don't need to broadcast your process. You don't need to explain your silence. People might wonder why you're not talking, not posting, not clapping back, not proving yourself. Let them wonder. Let them speculate. You're not losing your voice. You're learning when to use it. You're learning that not everything requires your reaction. You're learning that silence can be a shield, a strategy, a sanctuary, because in that silence, God is whispering things to you that noise could never teach. Don't be afraid of the quiet. Don't run from it. Embrace it. Sit with it. Let it work on you. There are things inside you that only silence can reveal. There are lessons God can only teach you when the world isn't watching. In that place, He shows you who you are without the titles, without the crowd, without the pressure. And what you discover there, that's what keeps you grounded when the storms come. That's what anchors you when life tries to shake your foundation. Faith grows when it's tested. And one of the greatest tests is trusting God when He's silent. Can you still praise when the map disappears? Can you still praise when the promise looks far off? Can you still move forward when everything says, give up? That's when it becomes more than a word. It becomes your lifeline. And once you've walked through the quiet and come out stronger, you won't be so easily shaken the next time the noise fades. You'll remember the stillness where God met you. You'll remember the moments when no one else could encourage you, but His voice was enough. You'll remember how He carried you when you couldn't carry yourself, and that memory will become your weapon. That testimony will become your strength. So yes, the quiet can be painful. It can feel lonely. It can make you question everything. But if you stay in it long enough, you'll discover something powerful. God never left. He was just teaching you how to hear Him above everything else. He was fine-tuning your faith so that when the world went dark, you wouldn't. He was building you up in silence so that when it's time to speak, your words will carry fire. Faith works best in the quiet spaces because that's where everything else fades away. That's where your soul settles. That's where you stop performing and start trusting. And when you come out of that quiet place, you come out with a faith that's unshakable, a spirit that's unbreakable, and a power that doesn't need to shout to be felt. So hold steady. Don't rush the silence. Just believe. There is a strength that comes not from speaking, not from reacting, not from defending yourself, but from rising without saying a word. You don't always need to respond. You don't always need to explain. You don't need to retaliate or prove your point. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do when dealing with toxic people is to rise silently. Not because you're weak, but because you've outgrown the game. Because your peace costs too much to gamble on someone who's committed to misunderstanding you. Because your future is too valuable to be delayed by someone who's still living in dysfunction. Toxic people thrive on your energy. They feed on your reactions. They want your attention because that's how they stay relevant in your life. But the moment you stop feeding the drama, the moment you stop replying to the chaos, the moment you go quiet, they lose their power. They lose their grip. That silence, that's your strategy. That's your healing. That's your decision to choose yourself over their nonsense. You've spent too much time trying to explain yourself to people who never wanted to understand you in the first place. You've been watering dead soil. You've been exhausting your energy trying to make peace with people who live in war. But peace isn't found in pleasing them. It's found in protecting you. And when you realize that, you'll stop showing up to every argument you're invited to. You'll stop attending every emotional battle they try to launch. You'll start preserving your energy for what truly matters. You don't need to slam the door, just close it. Quietly, firmly. Walk away, and don't look back. Some people will never admit what they did. Some will never own their toxicity. They'll rewrite the story, paint themselves as the victim, and convince others that you were the problem. Bet them. Your healing isn't dependent on their honesty. Your growth doesn't require their apology. You don't need their confession to be free. You just need your decision. Your decision to stop drinking from poisoned wells. Your decision to choose sanity over chaos. Your decision to grow in silence while they spiral in noise. Not everything deserves your words. Some battles are won by restraint. Some victories are claimed by self-destruct. And when you stay silent in the face of dysfunction, you're not ignoring the truth, you're protecting your peace. You're saying, I refuse to lower my standards to meet your dysfunction. I refuse to let your chaos become my character. I refuse to engage in war with someone who's already defeated by their own bitterness. Silence is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's knowing when to engage and when to walk away. It's realizing that sometimes the best clapback is no clapback at all. That sometimes the most powerful move is the one they never see coming. You healing in private. You growing in peace. You succeeding in silence. Toxic people hate that. They hate when they can't get a rise out of you. They hate when you don't take the bait. You're here to be elevated. You see, toxic people want control. They want to dictate the narrative. They want to keep you in cycles of guilt, shame, and confusion. But when you get quiet, truly quiet, you break the cycle. You interrupt the pattern. You say, I don't need this anymore. I don't owe you my voice. I don't owe you access to my spirit. I'm done explaining, done justifying, done trying to make you comfortable while I drown in discomfort. You want to know how to deal with toxic people? Rise in silence, block in peace, disconnect without a scene. Let your healing do the talking. Let your fruit speak for you. Let your boundaries teach them who you are. Because the most powerful version of you isn't the one who fights to be heard. It's the one who walks away without needing to shout. And yes, it's going to hurt. Yes, walking away will feel like tearing yourself apart, because toxic people don't just manipulate your emotions. They confuse your identity. They twist your reality so much that you start doubting yourself. That's how deep the poison runs. But when you rise in silence, you start remembering who you were before they clouded your mirror. You start hearing your own voice again. You start seeing clearly again. That's when the healing begins. Not when they change, but when you do. When you stop needing closure and start choosing clarity. It's not your job to fix what they broke. It's not your role to be their therapist. You're not responsible for saving someone who keeps choosing to drown. You're not the problem solver. You're not the peacemaker at the cost of your own peace. You've tried that. You've poured, you've prayed, you've cried, and now it's time to rise. Not with vengeance. You've prayed. You've prayed. You've prayed. You've got information that the rebels are not in fact unrelatable monsters. You've got information that the rebels are not, in fact, unrelatable monsters. You've got information that the rebels are not, in fact, unrelatable monsters. You've got information not with a speech, but with silence. You deal with toxic people by not dealing with them at all. You deal with them by refusing to be dragged into their chaos. You deal with them by growing so far beyond their reach that they can't even trigger the old version of you. That's not ego, that's survival. That's self-worth. That's what it means to love yourself enough to walk away without a word. Silence isn't surrender, it's strategy. It's power. It's a declaration that says, I'm no longer controlled by dysfunction. And when you get to that place, nothing they say can shake you. Nothing they do can pull you back, because you've risen. And you did it quietly, without a scene, without revenge, just peace, just power, just purpose. There is a transformation that begins the moment you stop seeking approval and start walking in purpose. The moment you stop asking for permission to believe in yourself. The moment you stop waiting for the world to validate what God already placed inside of you. Something shifts inside when you say, I'm done doubting. I'm done questioning. I believe in who I am becoming. That's not arrogance. That's not pride. That's alignment. That's what happens when your spirit finally catches up with your assignment. And once you reach that place, silence becomes your sanctuary, not because you have nothing to say, but because you don't need to say anything to be powerful. You have to understand, when you truly believe in yourself, your silence becomes your statement. You no longer feel the need to announce your every move. You're not chasing attention. You're not trying to prove your worth. You're not begging for validation. You're rooted. You're grounded. You're operating from a deeper place. Because people who are confident in who they are don't need to be loud about it. They just show up. They just move. They just work. And the results speak louder than words ever could. There comes a season when you realize that clapping back isn't growth. Arguing isn't strategy. Explaining isn't necessary. When you start believing in yourself, you stop shrinking for people who never saw your worth in the first place. You stop giving them space to speak over what God has already confirmed. You stop handing over your peace just to keep someone comfortable. You learn how to walk into rooms and no longer seek permission to exist. You know who you are. You've been through too much to keep doubting yourself. The world will try to make you feel like you're not enough, like you're too much, too quiet, too loud, too strong, too soft, too different. But when you believe in yourself, you stop measuring your worth by their standards. You stop molding yourself to fit into boxes you were never meant to live in. You stop editing your voice to make someone else feel comfortable in their insecurity. You realize that believing in yourself doesn't require an audience. It requires agreement with your calling, with your truth, with your own reflection. You don't need a stage to be valid. You don't need a platform to matter. You don't need applause to prove you're on the right path. Sometimes the most sacred things grow in silence. Sometimes the most powerful breakthroughs happen in the quiet. That's why it's okay to pull back. It's okay to go quiet. It's okay to focus on your inner world. Because when you believe in yourself, you don't chase noise, you protect your peace. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is clarity. It's where you hear your true thoughts. It's where you meet your real self. It's where you strip away the layers and face who you've been, who you are, and who you're becoming. It's where you stop running from your reflection and start embracing your power. Because when the noise fades, the truth speaks. And your truth is this: you are enough. You've always been enough. You were just surrounded by voices that couldn't see it. Start believing that your presence is a message, that your growth is proof, that your peace is power. You don't have to keep announcing your evolution. Just evolve. Just keep showing up. Keep doing the work. Keep healing. Because when you truly believe in yourself, your silence becomes sacred. It becomes a boundary. It becomes protection. It becomes a signal that says, I no longer need to be understood to be at peace. Too many people waste their energy trying to explain their dreams to those who can't even see past their own limitations. You owe no one an explanation for your growth. You owe no one a justification for your healing. You don't have to shrink just to keep someone from feeling insecure around your strength. You don't have to play small so others can stay comfortable in mediocrity. When you believe in yourself, you stand tall, quietly, confidently, unapologetically. That kind of belief can't be faked. It doesn't need makeup. It doesn't need decoration. It doesn't need hashtags or filters. It's raw. And it shows up even when no one's clapping. It shows up even when no one's looking. That's because you're no longer doing it for them. You're doing it for you. You've decided that your future matters more than their opinion. Your calling matters more than their approval, and your purpose matters more than their praise. You've come too far to second-guess yourself now. You've fought too many battles, cried too many tears, prayed too many prayers to go silent in fear. Now your silence is strength. It's discernment. It's knowing when to speak and when to let your results speak for you. And baby, they will speak. Your peace will testify. Your consistency will tell the story. Your success will silence the doubt. You won't have to argue. You won't have to post. You won't have to prove. You'll just walk. You'll just rise. You'll just become. So believe in yourself even when no one else does. Believe in yourself when they question you. Believe when they mock you. Believe when they walk away. Believe in the quiet, in the unknown, in the waiting. Believe through the process, through the tears, through the silence. Because it's in that silence where you become unstoppable. It's in that stillness where you remember your strength. And it's in that deep, unwavering belief where the impossible becomes inevitable and where everything becomes possible. Because in the quietness, because in the deep, because in the silence, the question becomes inevitable and you become a prophet. Because in the deep, because in the silence, you find some truth. Just like our friend, the cave. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to shout to be seen. You just need to believe deeply, fiercely, silently, and watch how the world shifts when you do. So now, after all the storms, after all the silence, after every battle you faced in private, hear me clearly. You don't need noise to be powerful. You don't need applause to be worthy. You don't need their permission to walk boldly in what was placed inside you before they ever formed an opinion. You don't need the command to be sought. You don't need the comfort to be formed. And later, you don't need their permission to walk boldly in what was placed inside you before they ever formed an opinion. All you need is belief. Belief that is rooted not in their validation, but in your vision. Belief that holds its ground even when everything around you tries to shake it. Belief that doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to fight, doesn't need to explain, but simply knows. Knows that you are made for more. Knows that you are being shaped in silence for a destiny that can't be destroyed by noise. Knows that growth is happening even when no one sees it, even when no one claps, even when no one understands. So keep building. Keep trusting. Keep walking quietly in the direction of who you're called to be. Let the doubters doubt. Let the mockers mock. Let the noise keep talking. But you keep believing, you keep becoming, you keep rising, silently and surely. Because real power doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it just walks in the room and everything shifts.